Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Neo Alpha walkthrough part 2. I'm going to be backtracking a little bit here to get some of the items in this area we moved through, and I'm going to be showing you the power of the bow, which is incredibly useful. Bows in this game are going to be so good, I can't imagine playing it without it, because if you get a headshot you can instantly kill a lot of the normal mobs. Oh, he did the thrust. Interesting. I love that kick. Out of stamina though. We're both out of stamina, so it's okay. Can grab him in that animation too. Be careful of the spear guy on the corner. Spears are so fast, and they have a lot of range. This is the dude who's going to catch you out the most. I love the dismemberment in this game too. You can continue to dismember people once they're dead as well as the falling down, which I think is a great touch. It's one of the best things that Team Ninja did, the dismemberment, and I'm glad it's back. And it's not as ridiculous as Ninja Gaiden 2. But it's still, you know, awesome enough. This guy's pretty tough too. This guy's armoured. So he has a spear. He's going into the high stance, which is very parryable, but it does big damage if you don't. He's out of stamina. I'm going to punish him. I'm going to knock him down, and then we're going to Onimusha to him. Actually, you can probably do that in Onimusha 1 as well. But you might wonder why I said in the first video, why is this nothing like Onimusha outside of its, you know, tone and its theme? Because Onimusha is a very precise game in a lot of ways. Like, almost nothing in Onimusha breaks your guard. I think there might be certain boss attacks that might break it, and if you can get grabbed in that game, which I can't remember if you can, I think the Crocodile Men can. But everything else you can block really consistently, and the movement in that game is so precise because you're using a D-pad. And on the D-pad, like when you do the lock-on mode in that game, you face the enemy, and you can move super fast, and dash and dodge and weave, and it's awesome. The controls in Onimusha are absolutely fantastic for the time. They were way better than the controls in Resident Evil, I felt. I always felt like I was in a decent measure of control in those games. And those games were effectively survival horrors, weren't they, with a lot of puzzle solving. This game has none of those qualities. The movement in this game is shit compared to those games, and they were tank controls. And the movement in this game really reminds me of Witcher. It feels like a better Witcher when it comes to movement, but it's still just, it's not there yet. There's a lot of finesse that needs to be added. There's a lot of tuning that needs to be done. It feels okay, but it doesn't feel great. And I've played some of the greatest feeling action games that exist. So getting that feel down is so important. You know, it's really, really important. And I have 100% faith that by the time that this game comes out, it'll probably have been refined a lot. Because you can tell it's an alpha, you can tell it's a little rough. But there's something there, there's still something of quality there. And it's same with Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden's controls are flawless, man. That game works so well for what it is. There's issues with camera, because there's issues with camera in all these games. But the controls are so spot on that there's never a point in Ninja Gaiden where I feel like I do something I don't want to do, or I move in a way I don't want to move. This game is all of that. It's always moving where you don't want to move, feeling like you didn't do things right. It's so full of that shit, it's not even funny. Like, this guy's incredibly dangerous, but you can circumvent him by... I love doing that when you knock them off. Oh, I tried to plunge him, but I didn't get it. Oh god, this is rough. We got him. Use an elixir, forge our path onwards, and pick up the shrine blessing, guys. So I think this is a really goofy but interesting addition. The collectibles in this game, it seems, are going to be these little froggy dudes, these shrine spirit guys, and when you get a certain amount of them, it gives you a benefit, a passive benefit while you're playing. And the one that I choose is the one where you get an extra 15% weapon drop, because I'm all about the weapons. But always be on top of your gear. You'll notice that I think the menus in this game are great. They're very fast, they're very responsive, and you can move through them much quicker than you can a lot of menus. So I think they've done a great job on menus. I don't know if I would have, you know, done the whole Dark Souls thing of completely obscuring the screen in real time and everything. I think this game could have been paused, but they're going for the Souls experience, aren't they? They're going full in. But this is a guy swapping stances. He's armoured as well, so he's going to take a few hits. But look how powerful the block is. There goes my weapon being impaired again, being slightly damaged. This guy's really close to death. Drops a ton of great stuff. And we need to go back and try and change weapons. But do you see how there's exclamation marks next to certain aspects of the menu? That tells you that you have new gear, which I think is a really, really cool touch. I'm not too sure if it tells you that you have new gear that's better than what you're wearing. I think it's just a notification that you can equip different things. But look at this bow. Look how good that is. This is going to be so useful in the game, guys. If you're struggling, get that bow, dude. Use that bow, use it well, and you'll be fine. But like, look at that. Blocking is so powerful. And I think that's a great thing. But you need to be aware that when you lock on, you can block in a wrong direction and still take a hit. You do not have an omnidirectional block. It's really strange like that. And there's a couple of other features that are weird. When you lock on, if you don't touch the analog and you press evade, you will backstep, just like Souls games. And then if you press attack afterwards, you'll lunge back forward. And it's almost like when you're locked on, if you don't move the character at all, the lock-on works better. But how many opportunities in fights will you have to move like that? It's a very particular kind of thing. And if you are moving in a direction, it's going to follow your input a little bit more, and that's where I think the disconnect happens. Where there are times when you'll be moving to the left of somebody at like 11 o'clock, and then as you swing, you'll swing away from them and you'll miss, and then they'll hit you in the back and do massive damage, and you feel cheated because the lock-on was fucking you. But really, it was your control over it that was making it work that way, so I don't know if they're going to change too much of the lock-on, but I hope they do, because I really don't like it. You know, it reminds me of Dark Souls 2 in a bad way. But we're doing the menu game here. That glue at the top will repair your armor. The whetstone will repair your weapon. These are two items you want to either get used to using, or you want to shortcut them, because you're going to be using them a lot. The degradation in this game is far too strong for how frequently the whetstones and stuff don't drop. It's really frustrating. Another thing I don't like too is, why do you have to hold circle on a body for it to have the items? Why don't you just go near it, and when you press circle it gives you all the items it was going to get? I don't really understand the idea behind that, other than maybe it's generated on the fly, so when you go up to it and you hold it, that's when it tells you what you're going to get, so it's different every time. I don't know. But you see the kick? Kick is really good for medium stance, especially when you upgrade the amount of ki you take away from people when you attack them, because you can break the guard really quickly and you can do the grab. Once again, another thing that I've got to be critical of, considering that this is the developer that invented the obliteration techniques, I have no idea why the grab is that one animation every single time, and it's just not that visceral or interesting looking. Like, say what you want about Ninja Gaiden 3, but those executions in that game looked great. All that steel and bone stuff, really, really nice. This game has that one thing, and it's just kind of bland. I like the stab on the ground, because it's the classic, you know, traditional samurai move. In games, anyway. I'm not too sure if that's what samurais would do, because weren't they all honor bound and shit? I have no idea. I like the period, but I'm not that knowledgeable about it, unfortunately. All I know is that Tom Cruise helps save Japan, and that's it, really. But this has just been me going back through those areas, picking up some stuff, and now we're going to move on to the next zone. It's going to introduce us to the plunging attack, and we're going to be fighting the first of the stronger enemies, which is called a yokai, I think. And it's a creature that summons itself in from the underworld. I think that's what they're going with. And the underworld has this weird effect of putting down patches of black goo, or black, like, inverted graphic stuff, and it affects your ability to use stamina for a bizarre reason. And I think what it is, you know your stamina bar? Whenever it gets that red around it, regardless of if you have ki in it or not, if you try and evade or if you try and use it at that moment, I think it penalises you. This is another one of the revenants that has an axe, so he can... You see that? He had no stamina and he was able to get that swing off. That was confusing. I'm in trouble here as well, because he's using the faster... He's using the low stance on the axe, so he might... Oh, I'm knocked down. Like, why did I get knocked down then? I don't get it. There's so much about this game I don't get. I'm looking forward to understanding it, though. I'm looking forward to learning. Oh, this is a really effective strategy, too. Just doing the one thrust on the medium stance, and then dodging away. Because the AI will either dodge, or they'll eat it every time. It's not the most graceful or interesting thing to watch, but it works. You'll also notice I'm without my bloodstain, because I got killed in here. I got grabbed by the boss. I say the boss, he's like a heavy enemy. He does one of the fastest grabs I've ever seen in a game such as this, which is how you can tell that they made Ninja Gaiden, because Ninja Gaiden has got really fast grabs too. You got to lead the arrows as well if you want to hit moving targets. But in here, you'll have seen this. I knew that this thing was coming because it was from the TGS trailer. You can tell with that weird inverted effect that's happening. When you go towards it, this crazy monster turns up. So this guy has one katana, and he has the ability to claw at you. He will generally do 2-hit combos that are quite slow. He does one big hit. That's one big hit. You can punish that every time. When you get close to him, he can do the grab, which is his fastest move, and it's the one that will be the most dangerous. If you hit him in the back, you do more damage. That's what you want to kind of aim for if you can. And I'm going to use high stance because it's my favourite. There's his 2-hitter, then I'll do a heavy attack. There's his lunge, I'll do a heavy attack and get out of there. Once again, do you notice on my stamina how after I attack, you'll see the bar building back and it's that whitish, bluish effect on it? If I were to press stance button, I could get that stamina back. But if I dodge, I cancel that stamina completely. So there's this weird balancing act that you're not going to see me mess too much with. I've also broke my sword again, so just to show how kind of out of control the degradation is. And he's doing his little dash that's almost like a fake out. There's the swipe. And he should be dead one more hit, but for some reason I'm playing really passive. The good news is, if you struggle with this enemy, there's tons of them in the next stage. So you can get a lot more comfortable with fighting them, and you'll never be scared of them again. But my weapon is broken. I probably don't have a whetstone, so I'm going to pop the axe on, even though I'm not the biggest fan of it, personally. There's a chest to your left here, but there's also a dude in the room, I think, so be careful. And then over here is a body that has the key to the next area. And the next area is the hardest area of this level, so I'm going to show you a really quick route to get through it, and hopefully you'll not have too many issues falling in the houses and things. But I think this game looks stunning, I really do, considering what it's doing. And what I mean by that is it's just the frame rate. Like, I think Dark Souls 3 is a pretty game on consoles, I think it's a considerably prettier game on PC, but the frame rate is so bad in that game that it's a disgrace, it really is, and I hate people who defend it. All those people who say you can't tell the difference, or I've not noticed it, it's just yours, all that kind of shit. No, that doesn't exist. The game has questionable frame rate, and it shouldn't. In this day and age, there's no excuse for it, but FromSoft refused to fix it. And the funniest part is, it's not even the frame rate that's the problem half the time, it's the frame pacing. And the fact that the frame pacing makes the frame rate look worse than it is, why would you not fix that? Halo fixed it, fucking Far Cry fixed it. All these other devs fixed this problem that they had when they did betas, and they got rid of it completely, but FromSoft won't, and I don't know why. Their engineers are obviously gifted, why can't they get rid of this issue? It baffles my mind. Then you have a game such as this, which I was watching Aris play it, Avoiding the Puddle if you know him. He thought this game looked like shit, he thought it was not impressive at all, but he's coming off playing fucking Dark Souls on PC at max settings. It's not going to look impressive if you're comparing it to PC, but when I first turned this game on, I thought it looked lovely. I really did. I was like, wow, it's a nice looking game. And the thing that really makes the difference to me personally is that the frame rate is higher than 30 at almost all times. Like, the frame rate does dodge every so often, it does go and dip a little bit, and this is on the resolution mode where the resolution's better and the graphics fidelity's better. Oh, I'm getting bummed. This guy's really showing me how to play. That's the problem though, when you try and use an axe against somebody who's using a faster weapon, you have to be first, because there's no such thing as poise, it seems, for you. Enemies get it, you don't. As it stands, I don't know the best way to farm loot and get better gear, but to my mind, summoning in stronger revenants must be the better way to do it, surely. It seems like that's what that mechanic's designed to do. It's to reward players who can, you know, overcome the odds of these ghosts that you're welcoming into your world. But I could be wrong, you know, I know nothing about this game, guys. This is the second, well, technically it's like the 4th time I've beat this level, but it doesn't really mean much, you know, in the grand scheme of things. I cannot stand the axe, if you're wondering. It's a weapon that I'm no good with, I don't like it, and all my strategies are with the katana, so I use the shrine to get rid of that dude, who I have a very good strategy for fighting, but it's reliant on spacing, and if your spacing is bad, you're going to take damage. That is an enemy that has 2 katanas, and it's so evasive, it's incredibly hard to hit. So what I do is I run away from it. As soon as it starts running, as it gets, you know, about 10 yards away from you, it's going to do a jump attack. So if you press heavy attack on the high stance, just before it does the jump attack, you can hit it in mid-air and then immediately roll and dodge its attack and just bait that move and punish it. And it's the best way of dealing with this enemy, because you get to do a massive hit and you don't have to try and catch him because he's going to come to you. The only problem is he will only do the jump attack if he's in a running animation. And of course, if you time your attack wrong, you take a big hit. But aside from that, this works really well, and it's the strategy I would recommend that you do. So watch for him to run, he's running, start it, hit him, dodge. That's all you need to do, guys. Very, very easy strategy, but it's easy to mess up too. And there goes an enemy that absolutely murdered me when I first met him. And of course, he drops a one-of-a-kind purple axe that I will never use. Which is unfortunate, but we'll move on. So the reason that this area is very challenging is there's a lot of ambushes, there's a lot of strong enemies, and there's a lot of the yokais. When you're on the rooftops, if you fall down, oh, look at the fire damage too. The fire damage is terrible. But if you roll 4 times, you'll get rid of it. So, this guy's using low stance, which means he will be fast, but he will do not so great damage. I'm getting shot by an archer, which is really annoying. The archers are a pain in the ass. But Team Ninja almost invented dickhead archers, so I don't mind. They're nowhere near as bad as Ninja Gaiden archers. It's kind of funny too, to me anyway, that they're trying to do what From are doing in their design, even though From arguably do it the best because they invented it in a lot of ways. But Team Ninja made a considerably harder series a long time ago, you know, that had just equal amounts of dickhead features. Everything that you don't like about a Souls game, there's something of its equivalence in a Ninja Gaiden game. That guy's on fire. Look how good the fire is too. Really, really good. But our equipment at the moment is not where it needs to be. We need to get much, much stronger. But we'll get there in time. It's a marathon of inches in a lot of ways. You're going to die a lot in this area. I've played this area a dozen times and I still died about 4 or 5 times recording this. Because it's easy to die in this game. Especially when you're trying to get away from things. Trying to get away from things is the most annoying thing in the game. Because you get the stamina penalty and you might as well be dead. The worst is when you try and dodge away and you put yourself into the stamina penalty with your back against the enemies, and then the enemies just all do massive damage to your bum. It can feel really unfair at times, but it's just learning how to use the systems at hand. That was a bad parry. Look at the guy in his kabuki armor thing. His like shogun, crazy warrior samurai armor. I love it. Looks great. I've yet to get one of those helmets that's actually good statistically. The best helmet I've seen on my build was like 79, and it was one of these crazy anti-rain helmet things. Cannot parry this guy for the life of me for some reason, so we do it the old-fashioned way, and he drops. Is that a purple sword? No, that's another one of those crazy co-op items. There's a secret item in the well. And I'm going to be moving around. Just be careful. The ambushes will get you killed. You die so fast in this game. I'm going to keep saying it because it needs to be said. It needs to be stressed just how fast you die. There's also a stance where you can charge your sword when it's inside the hilt. And you can do this kind of quick draw attack, which is pretty interesting and unique and does a lot of damage. But I haven't seen too many uses for it yet, because it's very slow to charge. It does good damage, but it's still not good enough. And a lot of the times, you can get heavily punished if it doesn't work out the way you want it to. But I'm just traversing around. But do you see what I mean with the fluidity of it? Look how fast the menus are. I love the speed of the menus. It says a lot about a game when the menus are this good. And don't get me wrong, maybe the placement of some stuff in the menu and the design of the menus itself might not be the best, but just the feel of it. Like, I love a menu that feels great. And to you, you're probably like, what are you talking about? But to me, it's life or death, that kind of shit, because it's the stuff I'm going to spend a lot of time doing, and the faster I can do it, the better I feel about it. But this is me showing you how to get through this zone speedily, because I don't want to die. So we're going to climb up this watchtower, And from here, we're going to have to traverse this roof. There's no conventional jump in this game, but normally if you sprint towards an edge, you'll make most of the jumps that can be made. Do not fall off, though. The game will not save you when it comes to invisible walls or anything. So be very careful. There's an ambush here of an axe guy and a guy with an arrow. And over here is going to be another yokai who has an axe, so he does really big damage. And the thing that's going to surprise you if you're used to Souls games is the pathfinding. The ability for enemies to track you and find you when you run away from them is top tier. Do you know why? Because they've given them IS Ninja tech. I have seen that running animation a million times in those games. Like, being chased in Ninja Gaiden is a scary prospect because the enemies find you really well and they come as a big old train of death. This game does the exact same thing. So you need to put some serious distance between you and them, or open a shortcut and hit a shrine, which is what I'm going to do. And now we've opened that shortcut, we never have to go through that shantytown again, and we can indeed go through it from the other perspective, which is much safer and much easier. But first we're going to kill some of these crazy fisherman dudes. That should have been a plunge attack. This guy's got a big axe, so he'll do big damage, but we do good damage too. So kick him down into the grab. I hope there's more grab animations. I hope it just constantly evolves and gives you a ton of different moves. This guy's got a bow. The bows are so annoying, but they're not as bad as the fire bombs. The fire bombs in the second level is Team Ninja not understanding good placement of enemies. It really is. Because say what you want about fire bombs in Souls games, they're always intelligent in a douchey way. It's put there so deliberately that you can't help but commend it. Even if you hate it, even if you think it's stupid and annoying, which it is, because it's designed to be that way. This game just puts them on every fucking roof, and they've all got perfect aim, and they can chuck them for a mile. They don't even have to see you either. They don't need line of sight. They'll just worm grenade you, and it's annoying. I don't know who thinks it's a good idea, and it makes me wonder if they realise just how bad it is. There's one enemy in the next level, if you knock him off into the water, while you're fighting another dude about 20 yards away, he will literally be throwing miracle grenades at you, and they'll land every time. They'll stun you, and then the other enemy will instantly kill you. It doesn't feel good. It feels cheap, and you don't want these games to feel cheap. That's what they do. You know, the whole thing with this formula of game is that it's challenging, but it's fair. The only way to be rewarding is to feel like you can learn it and control it and understand it, and you're not getting cheesed. And it's very difficult to do that. Making a game perfect and bullshit is easy, which is why I have zero respect for those kind of games. It's so easy to create perfect AI that just shit stomps you for the sake of it. Infallible AI is so much more challenging and so better, because it gives your enemies character. That's what makes it great, and we're getting there in a lot of ways, but there's still a very large margin to cover before we get where I would like it to be. And I love character in games. I love it when enemies can slip or when they can miss. You know, missing is a big thing. Doing things wrong, making mistakes. That kind of stuff is great, and I like to see it. And the firebombers in this game just are not that. There's no moments where the firebomber will throw the firebomb against a wall and kill itself. There's nothing like that. It's just, they're godly in a terrible way. Like a really terrible way. A little bit like the bosses, when the bosses get those bullshit hitboxes. Some of the bosses in this demo really going to test your patience, because a lot of the times they don't have to hit you to kill you, and it feels really dirty. But blocking is so strong against the bosses that I guess it's kind of fair in its own way, which is why I try not to block against the bosses, because I want to learn them, but they do so much damage, it's insane. I've also got an electricity sword right now, so that could be quite cool. Getting a little bit more powerful katanas. This is me trying to cheese this dude because he's much higher level than me. It works so well, this technique as well. But another great thing this game does fantastically, which I hope that they manage to get into the full version of the game, the load times. I know this is not a full game. I know this is a very compressed version of the game, but even then, the load times are great, and I think I know why. This game is instanced, unlike Souls games and other games that have struggled with load times. You go from a main hub map and you pick a level and it puts you into the level, and I think the levels are contained in such a way that they've managed to optimize them really well and make it so that the load times are great. The load times are so good in this alpha that you don't have chance to finish reading what's on the load times. And how often do you get to say that in modern gaming? Like, I've just been playing the new level on Hitman, and they've patched the loading, and it still takes 20 fucking minutes. It's ridiculous. It's the kind of loading that makes you want to turn it off. And then I come to this game, and it's completely stellar. Like, if Dark Souls 3 had this game's loading, I would have spent probably 20 extra hours doing things in that game. That's how severe the loading is. And if you're on PC with an SSD, you know, this doesn't apply to you, but these consoles, you know, when they keep talking about these new ones, this kind of console generation refresh because they sold us underpowered hardware, I believe it, I really do. I'm not a fan of it, but I believe it, because I don't see improvements yet. I really don't. And I'm comparing it to the last generation. Look at what the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 were able to do at the beginning of their life cycle to the end. Look at the difference in just everything. They were able to squeeze so much power out of that tech, it was amazing. And I've been a massive stalwart defender of this new generation, saying, just give it time. Just look back what those old consoles were able to do later on. Just think what we're going to be like a couple more years into the cycle. Once the developers understand how to use it, they understand how to optimize, it's going to look so good. And we're now a couple years into this generation, and it still isn't any better. We still can't hit those resolutions, we still can't hit those frame rates, and the visuals aren't that much better, man. Like, one of the better looking games is apparently The Order 1886, whatever it's called, and that game don't look that good. It looks good, but look at the price. 30 frames, well, like fucking 20 frames per second, massive black margins, you can't change the sensitivity of the camera. Like, it comes at such a fucking price, and it really shouldn't. But this is on, what does that say, on Ryoki? On Ryoki? The screen is not the best for reading small text. But this boss is very simple. The only reason you're going to die here is because the room is tiny and because this guy's got really big hitboxes. His pattern is simple, but you have to hit him 30 times and he has to hit you twice. So he will do a vertical strike towards you, which you will dodge. If you hit him, he will generally do a horizontal get away from me 360 move, which is stupid bullshit and I don't like it. He can do 2 hits on that combo. He can also do a variety of different ones, but he'll do those later on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and hit his face. That right then, if I'd have blocked, I wouldn't have taken any damage, but I tried to evade and I did it poorly and I took a big hit. There's his 2 hits, and then he's down for a little bit, and then you can hit him. Sometimes, if you hit him in the face, you'll get a stun. I have no idea what dictates it. I think it might be the bar. Do you see the lower bar on him? This is his second form. The good news about the second form is he does pretty much similar combos that are easy to dodge, but you can get him into this rhythm of going to pick up these balls to throw at you, and you can hit him as he's moving towards them, because he will never deviate once he starts walking. However, if you dodge these at the wrong time, they do really big damage. And if you attack him before he goes on his little pathfinding, he'll also attack you too. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to play possum. I'm going to let him pick up the shit, and then I'm going to punish him. This is me showing you the ability. I don't do too much damage with it because I didn't realise at this point that I was invincible. But you cannot take damage at this moment, and it does really good damage. But there you go. So this dude he's so funny. He has his 1-2 and then his big flop. But do you notice how he's dropping that crazy negative energy everywhere, those pools of it? It affects your stamina. And there's a move in this game, it's a combo called Kai Pulse, I think, where when you press square and then triangle, you do this weird energy area of effect thing, and I think it gets rid of those pools. But honestly, I just don't think it does it good enough. Like, I've tried doing that, I've tried doing the stamina one, and I don't see much of a difference. There's a mechanic there that I'm just, you know, in my few sessions with this game, I've not really been able to pinpoint how it works exactly. All I know is that you're going to get movement penalties during these bosses, and a lot of the times it's not going to make a lot of sense. But hopefully it will, you know? I've read all those tutorial things in the menu page, and it doesn't do the best job of explaining it on my game anyway. I must not have found the right tutorial, but hitting this boss in the back does more damage. Occasionally when you hit him in the face, you can get that stun when you do a crit. There was a stamina penalty. I think that one was just not enough stamina though, so that one I'm okay with. And there was a dead bitch. So pick up all his loot, and then we can get out of the mission. And then we can get to the challenging mission, because the next mission is way harder than that one. And the next boss is way harder than that one too. But I've got a really good strategy that enables you to get through it quite safely, and hopefully you'll have maximum success. So once you do that, you will be able to claim your Mark of the Conqueror, even though you haven't beat the alpha yet, which is bizarre to me, but apparently they didn't have high expectations that people would be able to do this next mission. They were wrong.